Hello, I'm here with Dave Schaufele, and this is Guy Cihi. We're going to answer questions for fans of Silent Hill 2 that have been sent to us by Ryan Kobe, Heiko Kessels, and Brian Wilson of SHO, Survival Horror Online. So Dave, who is Dave Schaufele, and who is Eddie Dombrowski?
Oh, well, I guess Dave Schaufele is a father trying to pay the bills, and Eddie is somebody who has been mistreated, been picked on at school and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think everybody knows somebody who's been picked on as a kid, and it's happened to everybody too at some point, I suppose, in one way or another.
Okay, here's another question. Who is Guy Cihi, and who is James Sutherland?
Right. All right. Well, Guy Cihi is a designer and a businessman, a father and husband. James Sunderland is very much the same without the children, but unfortunately, he did not survive a really difficult marriage with Mary. And depending on how you play the game and which ending you go for, he either ends his own life in water ending, or he leaves with Laura, fulfilling Mary's last request to take care of her. In any case, James is really a tragic man. So what do we got? Let's see. What's next? Hey, did you have any idea how big this game would become while you were working on it?
Not really. Actually, I was also working on another game for Sega, Shenmue, that had like 300 characters, and I assumed that, hey, the more characters, the bigger hit it's going to be, and it turned out to be completely the opposite. I thought Silent Hill was, going to appeal to maybe more of a niche target audience or that sort of thing, whereas this other game, Shenmue, was, because it's so many characters, it would appeal to a wider audience, but as it turned out, it took, so much longer to produce and was so much more expensive. I think it actually lost money. The Silent Hill guys were, very clever in that they kept it simple, and they got the game produced quickly and on the market. And I guess because of their sort of unique creative genius, it really struck a chord with people, and it's endured over the years. Okay, what do we got next? When did you first realize that Silent Hill had become a huge hit?
It really wasn't a big hit in Japan, ever. So I kind of enjoyed the time on the set with you and Monica, and that was it. Then I guess it was about 4 years ago or 3 years ago or so, fans would start finding me, and I got some requests. Could you say, hey, do you want to have a pillow fight? And I'm wondering, well, yeah, okay, I can say that, but I don't get the reference. And it's like, and then later, after I, started piecing the whole story together, I understand why it's funny to have James or my voice ask if you want to have a pillow fight. That was when I first started to realize, when fans were contacting me and telling me how important it was in their life, and I thought, ooh, there's something going on here. So I would have to say a shout out to Dina Natali, who was the first person who really made it clear to me that this was a big hit. Thanks, Dina.
Why did you audition for the part of James?
Right. Well, I was there, of course, to bring my daughter for Laura, and I believe you were there for the same reason, right? So I thought, I'll give this a shot. I mean, I've always been a ham, and I thought, well, I won't get the part, but at least I'll have fun. And you get a charge, right? You get, like, when you're on stage, you get an adrenaline rush, and I thought, well, I'll do this, and it'll be fun, just to audition. So I asked them if I could, and they said yes after checking, because they hadn't cast the part yet. Now, when I did the audition, it became very clear that the part of James was easy for me to embody because I had experienced a lot of pain in my first marriage. That pain was still really with me. It was covered over, just the way James covers over. He seems to be like normal guy on the surface, but he's got a lot going on inside. So that was easy for me to do that. And during the audition, I'm sure that came through. So I was there for my daughter, and the shoe fit, so I wore it. What do we got next here?
Another one for Guy. Considering the nature of James and his grief in particular, how did you work to portray him in the game?
Well, I brought a lot of my own thinking to it because the Team Silent guys didn't really explain all the details. They were, let's just think they're really clever, so they wanted it to be somewhat abstract, and they didn't want James to know what was going on, and they wanted my performance to be somewhat isolated from the reality. Like in his amnesia-like state, he wouldn't know that he had murdered his own wife. So they didn't tell me that, right? So I'm just performing knowing that I'm in a very agitated state of mind, and that wasn't hard to do for me because, again, I could draw on the rich experiences of living through a painful relationship and being trapped in it. So I guess I brought a lot of that to it.
Okay, next one is how much of James's personality and or backstory was provided by Team Silent, and how much did you create?
Right, well, like I said, they didn't give me much more than what you see in the notes that come with the game. I mean, they did tell me what the scene was about, and I had the script, of course, but I used my own life experience to create that tension, and that's the way he was. I mean, he was dead on the outside to the world. It was all inside. So, Dave, it's been 11 years since Silent Hill 2's initial release. Why do you think Silent Hill 2 in particular has gathered such a strong fan base?
Well, I guess perhaps because it's the most independent among the series. It was unique in a way compared to Silent Hill 1 and really connected with fans, and they didn't feel that same strong emotional connection with the subsequent games, that they felt with Silent Hill 2. The Japanese producers had a lot of depth to the character development and, unique ideas in there. What do you think, Guy?
It's so heavy in Silent Hill 2 when you get to the end and realize this guy you've been playing and trying to help navigate all these difficulties is his own worst enemy, and you got to deal with that because that's the life, that's reality in his case, and nobody walks away from this story unmoved. It's gut-wrenching, right? So for me, that's what sets it apart, the quality of the story, and specifically that twist that the hero is not the hero, he's the anti-hero, or the protagonist is not necessarily the good guy, he's also the bad guy. For me, I can understand why he did what he did, but I think kids who play the game, if they've never been married, never had a difficult relationship, and never watched someone die in front of them, and been through all of these horrible things that James was living through, they might have trouble sleeping after that game. Plus, Pyramid Head, talk about a nasty-ass bad guy. That is like one scary dude. So, yeah, we definitely had some twisted horror in there.
Okay, that leads into the next question for Guy. Pyramid Head is a popular antagonist in the series, but there are arguments about whether or not his appearance in subsequent titles is true to the purpose of Silent Hill.
If you're asking me, I'll say no. I agree. He shouldn't have. He belonged in Silent Hill 2, but as a business decision, Konami, how could they not use him again? He was such a watershed bad guy, and people were so scared and they were so fascinated by that character. I can't blame them for using him again. I mean, I understand what drove them to it, but personally, no, it's inappropriate. And I think a lot of the fans would agree that they've overused him. But as I often say, Pyramid Head used to listen to me when we were first working together. But then once his agent got involved, he just got a big head, and there was no talking to him. And he took any deal that was thrown at him. It doesn't matter, he's like completely overexposed now, and fans have kind of burned out on him. And, what can you do? Fame is like a drug, and Pyramid Head is definitely addicted. So he's out there. There's no putting him back in the box. Question for you, Dave. Let's see. Do you believe that the supporting characters that appeared in Silent Hill 2, like Angela and Eddie, did they have a role to play in James's journey, or were they there for James, or were they there because they got their own personal torments and Silent Hill called to them? What do you think?
Maybe a little bit of both. I guess perhaps in the early stages they didn't really know, one way or the other, but they had an idea that, well, they're going to play a role in James' journey. They're going to interact with him, but at the same time, they've got their own unique personal torments that they're dealing with, which is in the character development to make them more powerful characters. And I don't know, maybe they this was the second game, so maybe they were thinking about the third game as well, see which characters were popular with the fans, and then they would sort of develop those characters as well.
All right, well, let me continue with another one for you. Eddie seems to have a dual nature. He starts out somewhat hapless and innocent, but he turns increasingly menacing. What was the mindset coming into the role, and how did you create while acting out Eddie's story?
I don't know any mindset coming into the role. I mean, the director and producer were pretty flexible as far as allowing us to ad-lib a little bit. We had a script to work from, but because you're not standing there, looking at a piece of paper, you're sort of memorizing your lines and then acting them out, especially in the motion capture and stuff. You tend to kind of add a few words here or there, or so. In Eddie's case, I knew people that had sort of similar experience to Eddie, I guess, and I could kind of draw on that a little bit, and that helped to try and build his character and express his frustration and that sort of thing with his sort of lot in life.
Yeah, well, I mean, he goes like totally mental at the end, though, right? I mean, how did you psych yourself up for that? And what about those vomiting scenes? I mean, that was really classic. How did you pull that off?
I traveled in Asia and had been sick with stomach bugs a few times, so it wasn't difficult to recall how that felt. But the psycho aspect, I guess you watch a lot of movies, so you've got an example of characters sort of going crazy a little bit, and when you're in that position, you just sort of develop your own version of it a little bit, and try and be as sort of true to the character that you've been given an outline for. Okay, here's another one for Guy. The cultural influence of Japanese developers has been mentioned in reviews and analysis. Do you think there are any subtle elements of the game that Westerners might not pick up on?
Well, yes, I do. In fact, only recently I saw an interview with Sato-san where he explains that Mary's body is in the back of the car in the parking lot at the beginning there. And that one bugged me. And then I saw another interview, and he said the same thing again. Mary's body is in the back of his car. Well, I mean, if Mary's body is in the back of James's car, there is no multiple endings. There's only the ending where he's totally whacked, and he's there to kill himself, which means that the in-water ending is Team Silence canon. And now I believe that is Team Silent's canon. My canon is the leave ending, because that's what I want. But now, all the pieces came together for me when I read the second time Sato saying that her body's in the car. There's something about the Japanese culture which almost no one knows outside of Japanese. I know it because I had personal experience with it. I know families that had this happen. In Japan, there's a social practice. That's not the right word for it, but that's all I can call it. It's a social practice called Shinju. Shinju loosely translates as middle heart, but what it means in English is family suicide. And family suicide is where the husband or wife, usually the husband, kills his wife, most often by smothering with a pillow or drowning, usually in a bathtub. And if there are children, he kills the children too. Then he takes the family's bodies, puts them in the car, and drives into a bridge and kills himself, or drives into the ocean off a pier and drowns himself. If you know this and you know the game, you see where I'm going, right? It's inescapable that Team Silent made a situation of Shinju where the only way for James to escape was to complete the circle or fulfill his obligation to Shinju, which required that he kill himself. The in-water ending is the one that Team Silent put all their heart and mind into, because it fulfilled Shinju for James. All right, well, that brings us to the end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been great. I wish we had more laughs, but Silent Hill 2 ain't exactly a comedy. So now it's time for some serious beer and pizza with my old pal Dave. Say goodbye, Dave.
Okay, take care, everybody.